Welcome to Deer Feet. I'm Renee.
And I'm Jess.
And we're the Deerfoot Sisters. This week we're talking about how we are so old now.
Yep.
Basically just decrepit grandmas with little life left and brittle bones and osteoporosis and diabetes. What else do we have to look forward to?
You have diabetes?
No, but I always feel like I do.
Okay. Why do you feel that way?
Well, like, some of the symptoms of diabetes include like having to pee a lot and being really tired and thirsty, and I feel like that's me. And I do have borderline high blood sugar, but it's never actually been too high.
What is with this? Now I know you're going to have a good comeback for me because I'm currently wearing my pajamas, but what is with this fashion choice?
I don't understand what that question means.
It's not really, okay, it's not the shirt. The shirt is fine. I just don't, this makeup is not good.
It's
Why
just
is
this
that your
mini
new
palette
thing?
because I have one mini palette that I keep in my car.
What, can I see the palette? Like,
It's
there
in
has
my
to be a
car.
better choice
It's fine.
than
Everyone
this
has,
desert brown.
people tell me they like it, so I think
Do
it's
they?
your own problem.
They just say it because it's like, what do you say when you see someone wearing something new and it's obvious and they're obviously trying to show it?
I don't know. People tell me they like it.
You say, oh, I like your makeup. You wouldn't say like, wow, your makeup's really freaking ugly.
Well, you say that, so apparently
I
didn't
say that. I said it's not
You
good.
said that the other day.
I don't
And
love
I don't
it.
care what you think. Fine. It's like 2-second makeup that I literally do in my car.
But why do you need to even wear the eyeshadow? Just don't wear it.
Because I look like I'm half asleep when I don't wear eyeshadow. And I've been really tired lately, so I am half asleep. So if I'm half asleep and then I look half asleep on top of that, I look 3/4 asleep at work. And that cannot be how you teach. You need to look at least 85% awake.
I don't know. I think you can look like 60% awake.
Okay, but not 25% awake. Just saying.
All right.
And this necklace was a birthday gift from Katie. Why? Go away from me. Stop it. No. Go to your room.
Sarah, come on, calm down.
Go to your room. Go to your room. Go.
Yeah, the necklace is really cute.
Thank you. Go to your room. Stop yelling at me. Go.
Were you wearing jeans at school?
Yes, I was. It was a jean day today.
How much money did you have to pay for that?
$5.
That's another perk of working in Woodbridge. You get to wear jeans every Friday. That's a
Well,
very nice perk.
I was saying
For free.
to my work wife, Erica, oh, jeans day tomorrow. And she's like, I wear jeans every Friday. I was like, I know. She's like, Trokes and I have just decided that we're just going to wear jeans every Friday. I was like, I know. And some people don't even wear jeans on the jean days. And I'm just like, did you know it was a jeans day?
That's like my old boss was like that. I wouldn't wear jeans. I'd wear I was like the most professionally dressed person
Yes,
there.
but you were like new. Like if you're brand new, I can see.
No, like other new people didn't dress like that. It was me. I just was like the most
Well, then like we have this
professionally
other girl who's like kind of new. And I feel like ever since she first started, she like dresses really casual. And I'm like, I feel like she's really young. I'm like, this is another way that I'm such an old lady. I'm like, I feel like she's kind of presumptuous to like dress so casually, and like sometimes she's really snarky about things that they talk about in district, and I'm like, we're all like that, but we've been working here for a really long time. And I'm like, I guess I should be more open-minded, but
Wow.
I'm just like surprised by it because usually the brand new teachers are like, you know, they're trying really hard. So I'm like, I'm kind of surprised. Like she dresses really casual. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, huh, whatever.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
I mean, I feel like I'm like the kind of person that's like that. Not dressing
what?
super casually, but I would be like snarky.
but also like you're going back to school. You're older. Like these kids are like 22.
People don't know that. People think I'm young.
Okay, but I know that. I don't know. I mean, I guess like it's interesting for sure, but
I was telling like it's really strange. So in my one class, I don't know why. I mean, I don't know. Some people are like, oh, why is the professor making us do her job? I'm like, I don't know, like, whatever.
when you're teaching the class.
Yeah. So essentially, like, every week, a group of 4, it's like a 7-week class. So it's like a group of 4 students, like, leads. She's like, oh, you'll lead us in, like, activities and discussions about the readings. And then I asked at the end of class, like, my group was going the second week, like, the 3rd week, so the second of the readings.
Mm-hmm.
But I just was like, oh, how long should we, like, have, like, how long should we plan on, like, leading, or, like, how long should our thing be? And she was like, oh, 2 hours. Someone from the next week was like, 2 hours! And I was like, well, you're welcome for asking. Because, I mean, like, that is, like, you would expect, we're all like, oh, we thought it was going to be, like, 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
What does this have to do with what we were talking about?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
So, the first week, the professor was like, everyone, like, say their name and something about themselves. We're going to do this, like, do now about ourselves, and then we, like, shared it.
I do now.
Yeah.
Graduate school. Interesting. Okay.
Well, all the do now she has us do are basically, like, you could have your students do this.
Right.
Because that's the thing, too. Is
modeling.
Like, some of the teachers are like, or the students in my class are like, why are we doing your job? I'm like, okay, but this is also, like, a teacher ed program. So, like...
And is that class, like, about teaching?
It's about teaching urban students.
Then, yeah, I feel like it makes sense that you would practice teaching.
I think any class in this program...
Excuse me.
Because the program is like... Every class in this program is just for education. So
right.
It's, like, nothing's...
Yeah, but if it's, like learning, like...
content.
You know, like, law about... Like, educational law or something, you might not need to, like, practice your teaching.
True, but you still could.
You could, I guess, but it wouldn't really fit as well, I don't think.
So anyway, so then this other group, they had us do, like, a couple of things, and then the one girl was like, I don't really remember everyone's name, so she had us do that again. Mm-hmm. And it was just, like, say yourself and, like, your name and something interesting about yourself. But, like, then the teacher was like... Like, I think at the end, like, someone said something and everyone was like, oh, like, wanted to talk about it, but the teacher was, like, told her, like, move on to the next thing, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of weird that you did that, because, like, we already did that. We're not going to do it every week, like...
Right.
I mean...
Also, like, don't you guys know each other?
No, because so it's, like, yes, half of us, or 2/3 of us know each other, and then there's, like, 7 students who are, like, the next year's bio students.
Okay, so like but
they
probably know each other.
They know each other, and then, like...
So you only have to learn, like, 7 names.
Yeah. Well, they have to learn, like, 12, because it's, like, physics and bio on our side, and then...
Got it. Yeah, like, some of my kids don't know each other's names, and I'm like, guys, we've been in class for, like, 5 months. And, like, there's only
that's something
about
class. You?
I say their names, so I don't know. I mean,
the only thing... getting to know your activities.
The only thing it really says about me, I guess, is that we don't do a lot of, like... sitting in their desks. So, like, when I'm talking to them, it's not like I'm calling on them and, you know, from their desks where everyone's listening.
Or you don't mix them up enough.
Yeah, I don't assign them groups often. That's true.
Really?
They have a lot of choice in where they work. I only have to assign groups, like, with my bad classes.
I like to assign
They get very limited options about where they can work and with whom they can work. And their seats change, like, every 6 weeks. So.
I like to assign groups just to get them, like...
Sometimes I assign groups, but it's, like, bigger projects. But when it's just, like, if it's, like, a group project that they're presenting something, I'll usually assign groups. But if it's just, like, a lot of times I'll be like, you can work at your desk or you can work at the tables. And then they just, like, sit wherever they want.
And are they allowed to work independently on that stuff?
Mm-hmm. It's, like, just, like, classwork. But if they want to work together, they can.
I never let them work independently.
Oh, really?
Mm-mm.
Well,
pretty much I was like, and then I'd be like, I would always say, like, I suggest reading aloud with each other because then you know you're, like, on the same page.
Yeah.
If they're doing, like, evidence or something. Because I'll be like, I don't ever want to, if I walk around, like, I want to see you and your partner on the same piece. And before you, like, fill out the answers or decide how it, like, links, discuss with your partner, you should be coming to a conclusion.
Yeah. Well, it depends what we're doing. Like, if we're just doing, like, notes, like, textbook notes, I don't really do that. But if they're doing, like, an investigation, yeah, I'll probably do that.
So you do textbook notes?
Very rarely. Like, maybe, like, once a month. Just to get some background
content.
content.
There was some stuff I would do, like, some things that were from, like, the textbook that we had.
And my kids love taking notes, like, from the board. They really like it. I'm like, this is so weird.
Like a PowerPoint?
Yeah, they, like, love it. They're like, oh, we're going to take notes? And they get, like, really excited. And I'm like, isn't it boring? Like, I don't understand why you like it so much. No.
Oh.
Not my CPE classes, I don't. And they're, like, excited. And then I told you they go home and rewrite their notes and make them really pretty and stuff, so.
Probably because... I don't know.
I guess it's like they don't have to think.
Yeah, it's
so they're like, oh, nice. I can just sit here and
used to, like,
copy down these notes.
Everything.
Yeah. But we do fun stuff. Like today I had this activity where I laid out 8 fossils and they had to go around and sketch the fossil and then try to figure out what animal they think it is. And obviously like some of the fossils don't really look like the animals. So some of the things they said were funny. The one kid said like a log and I'm like, that's not an animal. Like these are all animals. So try to pick an animal, please. But then we looked at all the animal types and it was fun.
So, hold on.
Ugh, that stupid fish tank is like so noisy.
I know.
On all these episodes, it just sounds like the recorder is like humming, but it's actually a fish tank, guys, in case you're wondering. It's a fish tank with no fish. That's what
we have unplugged it before. I guess we could start doing that again.
Yeah.
So the reason I actually discussed that wasn't to get on the tangent of science education, but was to talk about the fact that I shared that the night that Princess Diana died, I was in a boat accident.
And those kids were like, were you
my
even
professor,
alive?
No, they were like, that's meaningless to us. My professor was like, the Princess Diana? She's like, you was really young. I was like, oh no, I'm like old. I was like, I'm 32. And she was like, oh. And I was like, yeah. So I was like in going into 5th grade. And she's like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like, I just know it was that night because my brother kept being like, no one even cared about us because, like, Princess Di was all over the news. So, like, our little boating accident. And then they were like, oh, man. And I was like, yeah, irresponsible parenting.
That's what the 90s was all about.
And then they were like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe you just, like, said it. Or, like, my one classmate was like, oh, you giggle after you said that. I was like, I mean... I didn't go into all the details, but basically our dad let us get into a boat with a bunch of drunk people.
Yeah, but hey, it was fun.
And it was way too many people.
And we didn't die. Although apparently Joe, like, thought he was going to die. Oh, you don't listen to the Beefy Boys, but...
I mean, like, that's fair. He was trapped under there.
Yeah, what an idiot.
He could have easily died.
It's just funny because, like...
I mean, they could have flipped the boat over.
So they were talking about on the Beefy Boys, like, how... when you're in, like, you know, an emergency situation, it's like 50% of people will, like, freeze and do nothing. Hello. And 25% of people will panic, and the other 25% will, like, react appropriately. So at that event, we, like, showcased all 3. Joe froze. He didn't do anything. He just stayed in the seat. You started panicking, and then Dad threw you off the boat. I, who was 7 years old at the time, thought to myself, this boat is filling up with water. I'd better jump off of it. And I got up, and I ran, and I jumped off the back, and was fine. So
did you think that, though? Because Dad did tell us jump. So Dad might have told
maybe
you.
I heard it subconsciously, but I remember, you know how, like, when you're in that kind of situation, time's, like, slow motion?
Yeah, because
I remember, like, the boat started filling, and I almost, like, remember it in black and white. Like, the boat started filling up, and I remember looking down, and then looking back up, and looking down, and being like, that's not normal, and then getting up and going. So maybe I heard him say jump, but I don't recall hearing him say that. It's possible, but...
I remember, like, looking up at the stars and being like, oh, it's a beautiful night. And then, like, looking down and being like, there's water at my knees. Like, this is weird.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I remember is being in the water and my Uncle Bob being like, shh, it's okay. And I was like, I'm fine. And he was like, you weren't fine. So I definitely, weird, like, blacked out. I was, like, in shock. And apparently, I think I went to my dad and he just threw me off the boat. And... I think I was like, Daddy doesn't love me, or something like that. I didn't even call him Daddy.
Like, Daddy hates me. That's what they said. I was like, Daddy hates me, because he, like, threw you in the bay. Which is kind of ironic, because we used to always talk about, when I was little, if I was ever being crabby, which was, like, a lot, because I was little. And honestly, it's probably, like you were mentioning, like, I was probably just tired and overstimulated and, like, being kept out too late and stuff. And then, like, people would be like, you're so crabby, we're gonna throw you in the bay. And then they would chant, throw her in the bay, throw her in the bay. And that's where the crabs are, and I was scared of them. So then I was traumatized. So ironically, Dad threw you in the bay, but not because you were being crabby, but rather to save you.
True.
But yeah, so I was like, I always said to myself, I think I'm the type of person that would act in an emergency situation. And I guess that is evidence to support my hypothesis.
Yeah, but you just also have, like, really fast reflexes. And, like...
I really do. Like, honestly, sometimes I surprise myself with my reflexes, and I, like, wish people could... I'm also clumsy, so, like, I drop things a lot, but I also catch them a lot. And I'm like, I wish people could have seen how cool that was that I just caught my phone that I dropped for the 5th time today. You know, but...
You do it on purpose just to show off your reflexes.
I'm like, whoa! And I throw my phone, I dash across the room and grab it, and my kids are like, what are you doing? Just kidding, that doesn't really happen.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Wait, you reminded me of something now. I can't remember. Still laughing about Jesus over there.
You gotta take a picture.
I did. I haven't.
Okay.
I was like waiting till the episode posted to like, but I don't even know if it would make sense if we post them. Like,
Well, we could post it like, listen to last week's episode and check out, or for reference for context on this picture.
is this a picture of Zoe or Lorelai? Who is this in this picture?
Who's this little girl? It's Jesus Christ. It probably says on the back.
It does. I checked.
What does it say?
It's like, it's about Joseph, but it
Yeah.
said something about
Jesus.
Yeah.
I guess they didn't ascribe to gender norms back then.
I mean, yeah, they
Good on ya.
probably... Well, where is, like, pitaya from? That's more from, like, South
Pitaya?
America.
Are you talking about, like,
Dragon
dragon
fruit?
fruit?
Yeah, because that's, like, the color of it.
so you think they dyed their clothes with pitaya?
Probably. I mean, I don't know
I
if
wonder if Jesus ate
I don't know
Bibles.
if it's, like, in the Middle East.
No, I think it's from South America.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like... So, I froze some bananas, and I have some frozen pitaya, and I, like, blended them up today, and it makes, like, a super delicious sorbet.
Mm.
I ate it with my chia
I saw a
seeds.
billboard for pliables, and I really want to get one.
Okay, can make one now. Here.
Yeah, I'd rather just buy one.
They're so good.
They really are.
I like crave them all the time. But
And
they're
I don't understand
but they,
how you
put
don't like
sugar and they
granola.
put like coconut milk in it. So
yeah,
it's,
they're like super not like healthy for you, but they're just so delicious. I mean, it's definitely like a treat.
yeah.
But I don't understand how you don't like coconut. Like, I don't understand how in like your
Oh, a
overnight
person?
oats I mean, not coconut. I meant granola.
Oh.
Like, I don't understand. Granola is good. You're weird.
Okay.
Do you actually not like granola?
I
But
don't.
you like those coconut clusters I get from Costco?
I don't dislike granola in general. I don't like it in my pliable.
I don't understand that.
Like if I was gonna have granola, like I might. Like honestly, I don't like crunchy stuff with.
It's
my
probably
creamy
because
stuff.
you're a grandma, so you can only eat soft foods.
Yeah.
So you need to only have like soft, mushy foods in your pliable.
Like if I were to mix granola into my yogurt, I would want it. I'd want to wait 10 minutes until it gets really soggy to eat it.
So gross. The whole point of the granola is to add a little crunch.
I don't want.
Like
a
when
little
I
crunch.
eat overnight oats without granola, I'm like, I feel like I'm a
You
baby.
put granola in your overnight oats?
Yeah, like in the morning I add some in for a little crunch.
Oh.
But then I was thinking like, oh, maybe I could put some nuts in there or something. Like it's just so mushy otherwise.
Yes.
And granola is usually sweet
Do you
enough.
use skim milk or almond milk?
Skim milk. Could try almond milk.
You
I
should
just
go
haven't
for
tried
almond
it.
milk. If
Yeah,
you do
maybe.
a half cup, it's 0 points.
Okay, I'll try it. That's also a lot. I made a half cup the other day and I'm like, this is a whole lot of
Oh, what do you
overnight oats.
normally have?
I mean, I guess a half cup, but it was a big amount. I also ate like half a carton of strawberries with it. But regardless, let's get back on topic.
Wait, I can't remember what I was going to tell you, though.
Was it about the bay?
I feel like it was.
It's about the beefy boy Joe.
Oh, well.
Okay.
Don't remember now.
So, pretty much we wanted to talk about this topic this week because obviously I just celebrated my 30th birthday.
Obviously.
Well, we mentioned it last week.
Okay.
So, that's obvious
I
for
was
the
like, why is it obvious?
listeners who know my birthday. And a lot of people were asking me, like, how do you feel? How are you looking forward to being 30? And I was like, it's the same as, it's whatever. But then, like, now that I am 30, sometimes I'm like, oh, man, I guess I really am, like, a full adult now.
Are you an adult?
And I have to, like, be more responsible for things.
Like, for what?
I don't know, like, and then I was, like, thinking, I'm like, okay, I'm, like, pretty successful in my career. You know?
Sure.
Like, that's fine. I'm married. Like, that's fine. But, like, my financial life is a mess. And that's, like, the one thing that I'm like, man, at 30, I did not think I would be in this position. But in the other aspects of my life, I feel pretty good for where I'm at for being 30. You know? So
True.
it's like, I'm like, okay, I'm excelling in these two, but I'm kind of behind the game in this one area, which is, like, one of the most important. But, you know.
True.
What can you do? I guess we just gotta try to figure it out moving forward, but... The one thing I can say is I do have a lot of money saved for retirement, so, like, at least I'm being responsible on that end.
That's good.
But, yeah. How do you feel about it? I mean, you're older than me. Do you feel like you're at the right place in your life you expected to be at this age?
No. But, I mean, like, just move forward. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like there's no point in, like, worrying about it. I
Yeah.
mean, like,
I mean, it's
just
not
try
like
to
you
be
dwell
better.
on it. It's kind of just like, you could be like, okay, yeah. I mean, it's not like I think about it at night and go home and cry. I'm just like, okay, this is how we are right now.
I think it's good, like, for me personally, it's just kind of so funny how people's perceptions are of things. Like, I took a really long time to finish my bachelor's.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got my bachelor's when I was 25. Which
Yeah.
I guess is not, like, it's only a couple extra years, but it's essentially twice as long as it should take or whatever. Almost.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people take a long time because they don't go full-time or whatever. I just happen to be going full-time for, like, 7 years.
Right.
But, like, when I was younger, if I was, like, 24, and people would ask me, like, oh, where'd you go to college? And I'd be like, I'm still in college. And they'd be like, oh. Right? Like, they were so judgmental about it. But then now that I'm 32 and a half, I'm, like, actually more than 32 and a half and, like, coming on 33, which I think that's the scary thing is as you get older, time goes so much faster. And then you're all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I'm 40 now.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're going to be 40.
People are
not
like,
that
oh,
far
I thought
now.
you were 25. And I'm like, I know, I'm just really mature. They're like, my classmates were like, no, it's because you're, like, so bubbly and, like, friendly. And I was like, okay, it's because I seem like a ditz. Like, probably, like, I don't know.
No, or they just think you're nice, and they probably think, like, 35-year-olds
I was like, I'm not jaded
are stuck
yet.
up, or...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's what they were just like, you're just, like, so much more, like, fun. And I was like, okay. Because they were, like, saying how, I guess the one guy in my class, he only recently found out how old I was. And he was like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know. Anyway, but, like, now that I'm getting my master's, which, like, it's my master's in education, okay? It's not even, like, super impressive. I don't even think it's hard to get into. Like...
Yeah, but it's still, like, a graduate degree,
I understand.
which most people don't get, so...
What did they say? Like, 20% of the population or something
Yeah.
when you graduated. By the way, I think my thing is, like, Monday, May 18th. I know it's Eileen's birthday, but I think that's when my, like, convocation is.
On a Monday?
Yeah, and apparently, like...
Probably can't go.
Why?
Oh, it's at night?
It's at 4.
Okay.
Can't you leave school early?
Maybe. I am taking my personal days.
I know, but I thought that your person said if there was something significant.
If we, like, have off last period.
Yeah, but even if you don't, you could probably skip your meeting and leave at, like, 2:45.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway.
Probably can.
So now that I tell people that, like, even though I'm not... Like, honestly, I was working more full-time when I was getting my undergrad degree.
Yeah.
So even if I'm, like... But the fact that I'm doing my master's, they're all just like, oh, that's super impressive. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's great.
And you're
And I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm just a babysitter. But they don't think, like, oh, you're, like, a 35-year-old babysitter. They're just like, oh, you're getting your master's.
Yeah, they think of, like, doing
You're
your
really
master's as,
impressive.
like, your main job, basically.
Yeah.
So they
And
don't,
I'm like,
right.
sure, works for me.
Yeah, I guess.
But, I mean, it ultimately doesn't matter. Like, it is, I find, like, dating people, and even, like, you were in the same boat, like, you married a person who, when you met him, he was living with his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so many people live with their parents now.
Yeah,
That,
that's
like...
true. I know,
feel
like, the
even
fact that I'm, like, okay, I moved out of the house, like, when I was, like, 25, and, like, had a full-time job when I was 23, the same job I have now, like... So I'm like, okay, I'm pretty actually ahead of the curve on a lot of things, because I feel like most people don't have that.
Yeah, you just happen to see a lot of the people that you see or compare yourself to. And I'm not talking about, like, our friends, but just, like, people, like, in your college or that you're working with. Like, you're seeing people that are at a different level already, or, like, at the same level as you.
Right.
So there's some people that are going to be, like, more well off or more advanced or whatever.
Right.
And some that are less. But if you were to look at the entire population, like...
Right. And then, of course, I have to remind myself, too, like, a lot of my close friends at work are, like, 10 years older than me. So I'm like, okay, like, you're, like, 10 years older than me, and you're still, like, a mess. So, like, not, like, a mess, but, like, you still are, like, trying to figure stuff out. So, like, in 10 years, maybe I'll be, like, more together. Maybe not, but maybe. We can only hope.
I mean...
Yeah, and looking so young, it's, like, it is weird getting older because I feel like people are always like, you're so young. And also, like, 30 isn't that old. But, like, it's definitely not, like, it's definitely not young. When people are like, it's young, I'm like, it's definitely not, like, young. Like, okay,
Yeah.
it's not old, but, like, it's encroaching on middle age, so, like, it's past young. So I feel like it's almost like when you feel like, oh, I'm getting older, it's like you're, like, a little disenfranchised because people are like, no, you're still young. And you're like, I'm not. Like, I'm not all young anymore. I'm an old lady.
Well, because you're also saying, like, you're really old. If you're saying you're old and someone's 20 years older than you, you're like, oh, you might as well just...
No, and it's not so much
do
like...
your grade.
But I feel like it's more like there's, like, life stages. So, like, you're young from, like, 0 to 25. And then you're, like, you know, not old from, like, 25 to, like, 55. And then you're, like, old till, like, 65 to, like, 80. And then you're elderly. That's how I feel about it, personally. But, like,
except,
you know...
now I call Mom elderly. Just, like, as a joke.
I got a request from Tim about the podcast to make it less boring.
Why? Was last week boring?
I didn't think so, but I always think we're entertaining, so who can say?
Maybe we have to do more games.
I think we also have to get more guests on.
I know. I was trying to do season 2 all guests.
And you haven't invited a single guest.
You were like, no, I don't like guests.
I didn't say has.
I
no,
hate people.
I never said that.
I'm a
I just said it doesn't have to be all guests. Anyway, another thing I
did have a few more details about that date I went on.
About how he paid.
I know, Joe was like, oh, I need more details.
I need more granular information on how you paid for this date. Oh, excuse me, I keep burping Slim Jims. Whew, so smelly. Do you think, like...
Even when we were looking up the Flemington thing, like, I was like, we should have just deleted that. Like, it's so stupid. I'm like, why do we delete me talking about the Jinx for 20 minutes, but we can delete us talking about where Flemington was? Whatever, guys.
But the thing is, I don't know, I listen to a lot of podcasts.
If you care, give us more
and
stuff.
Sometimes I like when they get off topic. Like, it's interesting to just, like, hear them, like, BSing. So, it's, like, fun because then you feel like you're a part of the conversation. You're just like, oh, these are my friends, and they're just, like, talking about nothing. Anyway, I was going to say, the other thing is, like, okay, working at the Y, I think I've talked about this before. It's like, obviously I work with people who are quite young, like 15 and 16 years old. And they'll be like, come to our party. And I'm like, no.
Well, not 15, 16-year-olds.
Well, yeah, sometimes 15, 16-year-olds are, like, saying, we're having a barbecue.
No, I'm saying you would obviously not go to their party.
Oh, yes. But even if, like, the 18-year-olds are having a party with the 15-year-olds, I'm still not going to go. Because I'm like, no thanks. Also, like, I don't want to. But, like, even if I did. So, then the one kid, this kid who's, like, so obnoxious, who's, like, you know, the one who told me that I could assess the risk of someone else. And he's just, like, a little punk.
I want to know who this is.
I, like, said something to him once about how I was like, well, I've worked here for 15 years. And he's like, it's not even possible. You couldn't have worked here for 15 years. You'd have to be, like, 30. And I was like, well, I am 30. Like, and he was like, oh. And I was like, why would I, like, lie about that? Like, but yeah, it's, like, weird because I've worked at that pool for as long as some of the people who work at that pool have been alive. And I'm like, this is so uncomfortable. Whatever. That just makes me feel really old. And, like, another thing that makes me feel old is just when my kids, my students, like, know nothing about certain things. Like, they were born after 9/11, which is just, like, weird. So today I said something...
No, like, that's, like, a reference. Like, I was trying to make a reference because we have this professor, and all my classmates have her. And I was like, have you guys seen Dawson's Creek? Because she is exactly like a character. And they're all just like, no, I've heard of it. And I'm like, oh. I was
like, so I said something today, just, like, offhandedly. We were talking about the Twin Towers, and this kid was like, what? And we're like, the Twin Towers, and she, like, didn't know what the Twin Towers were. And I was like, it's like the World Trade Center was, like, blown up in 9/11. And then someone else was like, I don't know, one of my other kids was, like, saying, yeah, 9/11 is basically, like, Pearl Harbor. And I was like, not exactly, but, like, okay, like, we could talk about this at, like, another time. But that kid's, like, really, he's just, like, really out there. He was just saying, like, we got attacked and then started a war. And I was like, but Pearl Harbor didn't start a war. There was, like, already a war going on for a pretty long time. It was, like, kind of different, and it was just a whole thing. But that kid's, like, he is, like, his
but
brain...
Wasn't Pearl Harbor wasn't that, like, when the U.S. joined?
When the U.S. joined, but it was an ongoing war already. There was no war happening when the World Trade Center was hit.
I mean...
No official war. But whatever, it doesn't matter. It was just, like, he always is making these weird connections and, like, saying things. So then he was, like, we were watching this video about the Grand Canyon and how it formed, which is, like, spoiler... river erosion from the Colorado River, and like he kept. So we watched like 30 minutes of the video. It's like a 45-minute video. So the whole time they're just talking about like how the river down cut and like how there was a big lake and it spilled over. And then after we watched the video, he's like, you know, I think probably it's a meteor shower. And we're like, why would you think that? Nothing in the video said anything about meteors. So then today we finished the video, and he's still saying he thinks it's a meteor strike that
What's
made the
his
Great
reasoning?
Canyon. None. That's that he thinks meteors do that. And I was like, but there's nothing in the video that talks about meteors. And he's like, yeah, but you know those big black rocks? That could be for meteors. And I'm like, but they said it came from volcanoes. And he's like, but they also come from meteors. And I was like, no, they don't. So it was just like really, his brain just works in a different way than I know. So he's like, he's very funny. But anyway, yeah, definitely when my kids don't understand references that I make, that makes me feel really old. And also, I don't listen to the radio, so they are always asking me about songs, and I've not heard of any of the songs that they're talking about. Yeah. And they also always, like, want me to be in their TikToks and on Snapchat with them, and I'm like, no. And they're like, just be in my picture. And I'm like, no, do not take a picture of me. Go away from me. I can't really imagine, like, taking a selfie with my teachers. I don't know. Like, why? I'm like, why do you want a picture of me? It's like, I feel like you're just bullying me. Like, what are you going to do with this picture?
Maybe they genuinely like you, and some of them, like, might have wanted to, like, might have a crush on you.
No, it's like the girls. I don't think they have crushes on me. I'm like fat now. Maybe back in my first years of teaching.
Maybe they're chubby chasers.
Maybe. It's possible. And then...
Wait. The teacher I know that was, like, really good at building rapport with the students, she also was good at, like, keeping the boundaries. Mm-hmm. So, like, she would tell them, like, if they said something, she's like, don't say stuff like that. That makes me uncomfortable. And she'd be like, you know, this is why I had, like, it makes me nervous of, like, being, like, close with you guys and whatever. So I was like, it's interesting.
Yeah, because, like, I don't know. It's tough. And that class, like, the kids are pretty good, but they love to talk off topic. So, like, today we were doing notes, and, like, we would take the notes, so I would say the notes, and then they would start asking me questions, then we'd, like, talk about some random stuff for 5 minutes, and then I'd be like, okay, and, like, read the next slide. But they're just, like, it was, like, funny. They're, like, talking to me about, like, do I think whales are scary? And I'm like, yes, killer whales are the scariest animal on Earth. So then the girl, Ellie's like, I told you, and everyone's like, oh, no, you're so crazy. And I'm like, no. And then the girl's like, can I get that in writing, Mrs. Mahoney? And I was like, okay, like, they're definitely scary because they're smart and they're vicious. And then the other kid was, like, telling me about beavers and how they're really cute. And then the one kid was, like, asking me if I knew that wombats had cubes for poop. And I was like...
Why are you talking about animals?
Well, because we were doing the fossils. Oh. So, like, I guess they were just thinking about fossils. And it was just, like, so random. And they're, like, talking about such random stuff. And then they were just, like, telling me really weird stories. And I'm like, I think you guys are just, like, trying to get me off topic. But I also just, like, don't care. Like...
Yeah, like, have you seen those memes that are, like, when students think they're, like, pulling one over on the teacher, but the teacher's actually, like, allowing them to do it because they don't have enough stuff to teach for the whole hour?
Like, I definitely have enough stuff, but I'm like, I don't care. Like, if you guys want to just talk, like, there's, like, some days where it's just, like, apparently we're not really learning much today. And, like, it's not every day, obviously, or else that would be a problem. But, like, a lot of my classes, it's, like, we'll learn a lot, and then we might have, like, a day where we're off. Like, last year I had this really strong class, and they were so good, so diligent every day, like, way ahead of the rest of the classes. And then, like, one day they were just being so silly for some reason. Like, they were just being so goofy. And it was, like, so out of the norm. And, like, but it was, like, fun. I was like, whatever. Like, we'll just have a silly day. Like, it's not a big deal. We're ahead of the other classes. Let's just, like, enjoy each other's company for this hour. And I think that's nice. But I don't know. I don't know. These kids are crazy. And then they do tell me a lot that science is their favorite class. Except that one kid who told me that nobody likes the class. We were like, thanks.
A lot of times they say, I don't like the topic, but you, like, make it the best. Or
yeah, which is, like, fine. But it was just the way he said it. I was like, nobody even likes this class. And we're like, okay. Oh. And he's like, I mean, not like that. You guys are really great. I'm like, it's fine. He's like, no, I mean, we're like, it's fine. It's fine.
I remember a thing I was going to tell you is the girl I babysit for the other day, she told me her and her sister were arguing.
Which age girl?
The middle.
Okay.
So the younger one was finishing her homework, and she was like, oh, when we're done, we can play Sims. Mm-hmm. So she finished, and she called her sister back. Her sister had gotten to her room. I think she was, like, drawing. She called her back to play Sims, but the Sims, like, wasn't working. So she's like, okay, we can't do it. And then she's like, let's just play Restaurant Tycoon, which is, like, a game on their, like, Chromebooks. Mm-hmm. And her sister's like, the middle one was like, no, I want to play dance. Let's play dance. She's like, I don't want to play dance, the younger one. So then the middle one, like, took her Chromebook, and she's like, just stop. And I'm like, all right, like, just give her Chromebook back. I was like, you know, maybe you guys can play dance later.
Oh, did she get it for Christmas?
Yeah.
Nice.
Her crime book. I was like, maybe you guys can play dance later. And then the middle one told me, like, I always side with the younger one because I hate her and I only like the younger one, and it's really obvious that I hate her and her older sister. And she's like, especially the older sister, and that's why she hates you. And I was like,
which is awkward because you're like, well, I'm gonna say.
No, I was like, I don't hate you. I was like, I've never really hated anyone. I was like, I've only hated one person in my life. Well, I diffused it by saying, like, I've only ever hated one person in my life, and that's my stepmom. And then she was like, why? And I was like, because she's just, like, a horrible person, and she did really mean stuff to me, and, like, I just, I was like, I don't even hate her anymore, but I, like, diffused it like that, and then they just kind of, like, started doing something else, but I was
also, like, when you're, like, almost 12, and you're, like, gonna take your sister's stuff because she doesn't want to play dance with you, like, that's why you're gonna get sided against, because you're acting like a cray-cray person.
I told her, I was like, I'm not siding with the younger one, like, I'm just trying to not have you guys start an argument. And I was like, I say to every single one of you, like, there's no point in forcing someone to play a game they don't want to play, because it's not going to be fun for anybody involved.
Right.
I was like, especially if it's a game that's, like, involves, like, having some kind of investment in the, like,
it's like
fake reality
game.
Yeah, it's like, sure, you could just make her dance and she could dance, but if she's not
that sounds like that's just like her little slave, like, she's gonna dance for us, make her dance.
But it's like, if she's not really buying, they play like Dance Moms, it's like, if she's not really buying into the whole, like, story of it, it's like, is that gonna be fun for you? No, it's gonna be really boring, and you're both gonna not have fun. You're both gonna fight.
I feel like that sounds boring anyway.
I mean, they love to do it because they like to dance, and so, and then they
I mean,
they
the dancing
always,
part's fun.
They're like always watching clips of Dance Moms, so they always like do stuff. They're like, okay, now, so, like, she's like, okay. Then they did eventually go play dance, but, like, the younger one was, like, being, like, Abby, who's, like, the teacher, and she was like, I want you to work on your acro, and then she's like, okay, now I'm, like, the mom, and she's like, oh, stop doing this, my daughter's getting this solo, like, and yelling at, like, the middle sister, and then she's like, now I'm your mom, and she's like, don't talk to my daughter like that. She's like, now I'm Abby again. She was, like, playing all the characters. It's, like, funny.
Yeah, that's cute.
And, like, they get into it, so whatever, but, yeah, I was like, there's no point in forcing someone, and then I felt bad because I was like, okay, I shouldn't make it, like, obvious if I favor the younger one. Like, I obviously do favor the younger one. Like, we get along better. Like, we're closer.
Right.
But, like, the other thing is, like, if I'm alone, like, if me and the little one are alone, we're just, like, talking. We could be, like, she'll probably be doing gymnastics. I'm talking with her. We're, like, joking around about something. If I'm sitting alone with, like, the other two, they're just on their phones.
Yeah.
And I'll just be, like, trying to chat with them. They're, like, giving me, like, curt answers and, like, telling me how I'm just annoying, and I'm like, okay, like, trying to, like, learn about your life, and, like, sometimes they'll want to engage with me, but it's, like,
so
not all the time, so I'm like, you're at the point where you're not really, like, engaging, and I know the older one was mad at me because I sassed her because she, like, didn't do this reading thing, and I was like, well, and she said it was frustrating to, like, she couldn't find a book she wanted to, like, pretend she had read, or that she had read 10 years ago or something, and she's like, it's really frustrating to, like, try to find quotes online. And I was like, is it more frustrating than just having read a book? Because you could have done that. And then she like, got really mad at me. So I was like, okay, that was sassy. Like, I apologized. But I'm like,
also, like, it's
also true. Like, I was
I don't know, did I say on here about, like, when that kid just said he was looking for me at work?
No.
I had, like, a kid making up a test. And I was like, okay, like, you'll come to my office. It's in this room. And then, like, after school or whenever he was supposed to come, he, like, comes, like, 5 minutes later. And he's like, oh, I was looking for you. And I was like, and you found me. Here I am in my office, exactly where I said I would be. And he was just like, oh. But I was like, and then I was, like, talking to my coworker. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of B. I was kind of B to B about that. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, but it's just, like, I'm like, don't, like, come be like, oh, I was looking for you. I'm like, yes, and I told you to come to my office, and I'm in my office waiting for you, exactly where I said I would be, not hidden, like, at the time we agreed to, so, like, don't come at me, like, I was in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So
he might not have known, because, I mean, he might not have listened, like, I find that,
yeah, but
like,
I feel like that's your own problem,
listen.
Like, if you're not listening to me, then, like,
yeah,
that's your problem. So I was just like,
Sure.
I was like, yeah, that was kind of sassy, but I couldn't help it. I was just like, and you found me exactly where I said I'd be.
Exactly.
Surprise.
So, like, I've said it before, like, I've dated guys who are younger, and I remember one in particular, and I was, like, saying how he's so young, and he was like, but I've lived, and I'm like, okay, probably, but you just don't know how it is when you get older, like, being so tired, things hurt, you can't do what you used to do.
Like, I remember when I was younger and I would date guys and they would always say, like, you were just at a different place in our life. And I was always like, what does that even mean? But now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, that's what that means.
I mean, I think you can be significantly older than someone and be at a similar place in your life. Like,
right, but like if you're like in college and you're dating someone who's like, 8 years into their career, you're like obviously in a different place.
And I mean, I think also like you can still like, I don't think that means you can't work with someone. Like, I think,
you can make it work, but it's just like, I get what they're saying, like where they're coming from.
I guess.
Or like if
and
you're
I mean,
like 20
sometimes...
and you're hanging out, or 21 and you're always like wanting to go to the clubs and stuff, and this person's like in their 30s, like they're not gonna want to like come out.
That's more something
that
I can
stuff.
understand. But some older people do like to go out.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
like honestly, I'm an older person that would like to go out, but like none of my friends will ever go out with me. So
yeah, because we're tired. But
Kind
you
of
can
giving
get
up on
younger friends. You got to get some young friends from the college.
I know. I'm too wild for them, I think.
Yeah, that's true. You're too wild for us too. It's probably why I don't go out with you. Is this a new sticker? These lilacs or whatever these are? Lavender?
Yeah, I have a pack of stickers over there. They're all purple if you want some.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I don't know. Being old, and I definitely feel like I'm already at the point where I'm like, kids these days. And I don't know if it's from being a teacher or just like getting older that like I find kids so insufferable.
Really?
Like I love kids, but I just find like the teenagers, they're just like so entitled, like ridiculously so. At least where I teach. And I'm just like, it's just like outrageous to me how they just talk back. It's like they can't even help it. And I'm like, I just don't understand. If I say like put this away, why are you trying to give me 6 reasons why you should have it out? Like, no, just put it away. Oh, but I have to email my teacher. Like, not right now you don't in my class. Like, put that away. We're in the middle of doing something. And they just always like have a reason for everything. And I'm like, how about just no? Like, if we're not doing anything, whatever, I'm not going to be like a stickler if like you're done with something and you're doing something on your Chromebook. But like, if we're trying to do something and you're like, off in the or like they'll like answer the phone and be like, oh well, it's my mom, and I'm like, that doesn't mean you can just answer your phone in the middle of class. Like if it's an emergency, your mom can call the main office. Like it's just crazy to me. And then it's like they don't even realize that that's rude. Like they don't even realize, oh, when my teacher says I should do something, I should just do it. Right. They're like, everything's a bargain, and I'm like, no, like it's so frustrating. And especially because I'm not like a dictator type teacher, so I'm like, if I'm asking you to do something, it's because, like, you need to do it. It's not like I'm just going to enforce rules for no reason.
Right.
That's very frustrating. I don't know. That might just be where I teach, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
It's, like, definitely true. And I feel like it's definitely happens more recently than it used to. So,
I mean, are you, like... I guess, like, it's tough to, like, figure it out. It's definitely true. I mean, the thing with my, like, full-time student teaching that I did, like... I only had 2 classes because it's like block scheduling, so it could be equated to, I guess, having 4 classes.
Right, 4 class times, but only 2 groups.
Semesters, so it's like, whatever. So it's like not, and then the thing is, my classes were really good.
Right.
And the teacher I had where the class was like maybe more challenging, like she's very good with those kids, so like, but even she was absent, like I think there were like 4 days where she was out or something.
Yeah.
And, like, they were fine. They were, like, really great with me as well.
Yeah.
So, like, and apparently there was one day where we were both out. I had strep and she was also sick. She had, like, bronchitis or something. They were really, really bad, apparently, for the sub. Because she got, like, a horrible report. And she was,
but
like,
sometimes
really
the subs,
I
feel like, make things
harder
for themselves than it has to be. I'm like, you're a sub. Just go in there and sit and just don't disturb them. Like, it's not I don't think a lot of teachers really expect everything to get done that they want when they're out. So it's like, don't fight it. Just let it be.
Yeah.
Make sure nobody gets hurt.
And honestly, with the advent of, like, Google Classroom, I think, like, and I mean, like, it can be tough, but, like, especially with the way that, like, science, like, you're doing, like, a lot of, like, student-led work anyway.
Right.
It's like if you planned your posts ahead of time and you could just say, like, it's on Google Classroom or whatever, or even if you know you're going to be sick and you can, like, quickly put it up.
It's a problem because, like for example, today I was, like, haven't been feeling well all week, and I was like, maybe I just won't go to work today, but I was like, no, we're, like, doing this fossil thing. It's going to be a nightmare to, like, try to get someone to do that. I was like, I got to go in. Because, like, I could find some alternate thing for them to do, but, like, it's just going to be busy work. And I was like, it's not even worth me, like, finding an assignment for them to do today. Like, I'll just go in.
Right, but I'm saying, like, if most of the time, like, yes, like, every time I was sick, like, twice or whatever, and each time it was, like, annoying because we were doing some kind of, like, thing that
right.
kind of, like...
that you wanted to be there for?
Yeah, or that I was, like...
And if it happens to be a day where you're just, like, doing, like, a note or something, then that's easy, you can miss. Or, like, if they're doing a project that they're working on independently, like, that's...
Right. But I'm saying if there's work that you can have them do, or a way that you can make it some kind of, like, thing that they do via, like, their Google Classroom, it's easy enough because then they, like... responsibilities on the students.
Right,
because
exactly.
it's coming from you. And
well,
it's
I
like,
was even annoyed at my students because I was out one day a couple weeks ago and, like, for some reason, the person who got my sub-plans, like, they didn't get sent to the office or something. So I sent them in the morning, but they just, like, didn't get over there.
Right.
And until after my first period. And then I, like, went into the kids and I was like, so what did you guys do? And they're like, oh, the sub didn't, like, know what we were supposed to do. And I'm like, okay, but I'm kind of disappointed because you guys were working on a project the day before and you know you had to finish the project. I'm like, did anybody work on it? And they're like, no. And I'm like, and you didn't think to yourself, like, hey, we've been working on this thing in science and Mrs. Mahoney told us that we're going to finish it the next day. We should probably just work on that thing. And they're all like, ooh. And I'm like, obviously you just, like, decided not to do it, which is like, okay, whatever. But at the same time, like, don't be like, oh, we didn't know what to do. It's like, come on, you knew what to do. Like, so it was, like, a little frustrating, but I was like, whatever. It's not a big deal, ultimately. But I'm like, just own up to it. Just say, like, oh, yeah, we didn't really do anything.
And I don't think that's, like, new. I don't think that's a new thing.
No, I know.
Students
It's
always
not,
do stuff
but
like
I'm
that.
like, that's not
like,
new,
even,
but I'm just admit
a student
it.
said to me, like, I didn't know a way to do this. And I was like, I, like, kind of, like, reamed him out. I said, like, let me just make, I was like, public service announcement. Like, I always say that to them. I'm like, guys, like, just so you know, like, pro tip for you. And they're like, oh, you're such a jerk. But I'm like, I'm sorry, like, first of all, if you don't do your homework, that annoys me at, like, in one level, like, whatever. Because I think, it doesn't really annoy me. It's just, like,
you're
I
hurting
feel
yourself.
bad when I see, like, D's, and it's because you don't do your homework.
Right.
And I'm like, that's stupid.
Well, see, if you worked at a
Whatever.
district like mine where you don't have to give homework, like...
Yeah, it's
then you would be
easier.
like, okay, it's easier.
But I also don't know how I could get all this stuff done without giving homework. But I guess, like, you just figure it out. But anyway, but I was like, but to tell me you don't know about something that I literally said, like, 8 times in class, had written on the board, and posted online...
so you should be embarrassed
it drags
to say
you
that
down.
to me.
I was like, it doesn't make me have more sympathy for you. It makes me more annoyed that you don't have it.
Right, because you clearly just
Like, at
don't
least
listen
just
to
say,
me.
I didn't do it. Don't
Right.
admit that you weren't listening to me or reading my online posts or checking the website or looking at the board. Like,
I know. It's, like,
why were you
so
even in class?
amazing how much they don't listen. And I'm just like, and I always say to my kids, I'm like, please do not make me repeat myself 100th time. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, it is so frustrating. And I'm like, can you just imagine? You are telling something to your friend that's important, and they ask you to repeat yourself, and you do. And then 2 seconds later, they ask you to tell them again, and you do. And then a minute later, they ask again. I'm like, do you know how frustrating that is? They're like, yeah. I'm like, that's exactly what it feels like. I'm a human. Just ask a friend.
True.
Or just listen for 30 seconds. Like, I don't even talk to you for that long. See, that's the crotchety old grandma in me.
So now that you're getting older, what are some things you get excited about?
I get excited about sales at the grocery store.
Okay.
Like, good sales. I, like, love using coupons. But I feel like I'm not that good about it. Like, you know extreme couponers?
Yeah.
Like, how does that even work?
I
When they're
mean-
like, I got all the stuff and it was 25 cents. And I'm
think
like,
you have to
how?
do a lot
You
of
stole it.
You have to do a lot of research, and I think you have to, like, be willing to go to a lot of stores.
And I think it's also, like, they buy a lot of stuff that it's like you have to just be willing to buy stuff that you don't need at the moment. Because it might be like, oh, I was able to get this deal, and then I got these 6 toothpastes. And it's like, okay, I guess if you can, like, stock up on a bunch of stuff.
True. So, I mean, like, also if they're doing it to prove that they can get the best deal. But, I mean, like, I don't know if that's necessarily...
Or it's not like they're proving they're getting the best deal, but, like, they're eventually the first
Hey,
question.
friends. We're back.
You never warned me.
Sorry, we had a system overload. Anyway, Renee was saying how you would eventually need to buy that many toothpastes. And I was saying, I remembered a time when our aunt was, when we were younger. And I remember my aunt looking through all the circulars and then, like, planning grocery lists to go to, like, a few different stores. And I just thought, like, I would never do that. Like, not worth it. But, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah. I'm not a person who really has money to, like, be, I don't know, to not go to 3 different grocery stores. But I guess I am. I just, like, budget myself and buy what I can.
Right.
Obviously, if I wanted to get more stuff for a better deal, I could shop around more.
Right.
But it's
there's
just
also,
certain
a
things,
limit.
like, you choose. Like, you're like, okay, do I want to do this, or do I want to pay someone to do that? And if you want to pay someone to do it, you just have to figure out how to fit it into your life.
Right.
So.
Although, I guess another thing we got really excited about was just, like, when they opened a new grocery store by us. Like, we were very excited for, like, Trader Joe's.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because people, like, love Trader Joe's. I haven't even been to it.
So I guess you weren't that excited about it.
Well.
You just feigned excitement. Poser.
Did I even?
Oh, burn.
I don't think I acted that excited about it.
You were, like, jumping up and down. You made signs, like, I can't wait to go to Trader Joe's. You, like, made
I was like,
commercial
my
about
name
it.
is James. My name is James.
You're like, I love Trader Joe's. Yeah, you were really excited. You were posting on Facebook, like, every day. T-minus 34 days till Trader Joe's opens. Like,
And then after it opened, I'd been like, it's been 1 day since
T
Trader
plus
Joe's.
1 day since which Trader.
I don't even know if it started. Okay, it did. Oh my gosh, system overload.
So now it's working?
Sorry.
Are you trying to get my attention, or you're just coughing?
There's something in my throat. Anyway, so, yes. I don't think I was actually that excited for the Trader Joe's. I think you're lying, but whatever.
Sarah agrees with me that you are a liar. Right, Sarah?
Anyway.
She said yes.
So, I think we could probably wrap this up soonish.
Probably.
So,
Like our lives, because we're so old. Although, you know, I have bad death anxiety. Oh, although I did want to talk about something that's not really on the topic, but we talked about it in our group text this week, and then I've been seeing a lot about it on Facebook, the whole inner monologue thing. So, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but I saw on Facebook last week someone saying, like, oh, I learned that not everyone has an internal monologue, and some people's thoughts are just, like, abstract concepts in their mind, and other people hear their thoughts as sentences that they speak to themselves, which is how I hear my thoughts. And Jess, you hear yours the same, right?
yeah, but I don't know if I really hear myself.
Like, do you hear words in your head when you're thinking?
Well, it's like I don't hear. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Yes, I'm
Like, you're not hearing it through your ears,
I'm,
obviously,
like,
but,
speaking
like,
sentences in my mind. But the thing is, I don't know if, like, I don't know how reliable that source is or how credible it is. Because
Okay.
I feel like maybe some people don't realize they're doing it. Because I used to think, like, oh, it's so stupid in movies when they have, like, a voiceover. Like, no one talks to themselves in their head like that. And then I like, realized, oh, I do that. So I think
But I feel like once you ask people, they would think about it. Because then the other question I had to people was like, so when you read, do you, like, hear the words in your mind as if you were, like, quietly reading them out loud to yourself? That's how I read. Is that how you read?
Yeah, that's how I read. But some people do, like, speed reading. So they wouldn't read like that. Probably.
But usually, even people who speed read don't speed read every single thing that they read.
True, but I mean, like,
I don't know.
a lot of the stuff they do speed read.
Maybe, but I don't know. I'm just saying, I asked 3 coworkers about this, and the first 3 people I asked all said that they do not hear themselves think like that. And when they saw that movie, same thing, they were like, I always thought that was weird. And I'm like, yeah, because then, you know, in every movie when someone, like, reads minds and they're, like, saying words to themselves, they just think, like, nobody does that. But, like, that's exactly how I think. And it's so
But not
foreign
all the
to me.
time. You don't always think like that.
Yeah, pretty much all the time.
You
Like,
never
I'm thinking in my head these words before I say them.
Yeah, obviously, but you've never thought about a past experience and just, like, seen it as a movie in your head?
That's a memory. It's not a thought.
Thought, okay, daydreaming, like, what do you call that? That's thinking of something new.
Yeah, but I say it in my head.
You say a fantasy in your head, you don't picture it.
No, not really. I mean, I usually, like, will
If
talk
you
it
have
out.
a crush on someone and you're thinking about what it would be like to kiss them, you say it in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you don't.
Like, oh, this person was walking across the room and then they come up and push you against the wall or whatever. Like, it's words in my head.
That's idiotic.
I mean, it's not. That's how my brain works.
I don't
but
think you
okay.
really do, though. I think you do, but I think if you actually were more metacognitively aware, you would realize you're not actually thinking like that.
Okay, I mean, I do.
There's definitely
but-
times where you're thinking not in words.
Yeah, sure, sometimes, but generally most of the time my thoughts are words.
I think most people do both.
But I don't know. Some people say they don't, and I guess it's impossible to know is the point.
Also, did you look into the credibility of it? Like, what are you, a person that just, like, reads something on Facebook?
No, but then I read other articles
true?
about it, so I said I have to research it more. But, I mean, I asked people, so in my personal unscientific study, there are people who do it both ways.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't think you can, like, I just don't see why you wouldn't trust people's experiences.
Because I was a person who didn't think that I did it. And I literally, like, not saying, like, oh, if you asked them about it, they would know. They have to genuinely think about it. Because I was watching movies and thinking, why are they doing this? No one talks in their head like that. How would I then realize I do? Why would I not think about it? In that moment, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking to myself, you don't do that.
But it's so weird to me that you would have ever thought that. Maybe you're someone who only does it, like, half the time. Because I would have never thought that because I always think to myself in my head like that.
Most people don't use metacognition all the time. They don't think about how they're thinking or think about their learning.
I guess.
It's one thing if you're sitting there and you're thinking something you're actively not saying. That's a more obvious time that you're thinking, like, in your mind, where you're thinking of yourself saying it. And
like I was saying to someone, to those people who said they don't really think about words, I said, like, okay, but if you're trying to, like, at a meeting and you want to, like, ask a question, like, do you think of the question in your head before? But, like, a lot of times they said it's just, like, concept maps that they see. I'm like, that's so weird to me. And then my other friend was saying how she also is unable in her mind to, like, visualize things. So she's like, when people say, like, visualize a tree, and then, like, people see a picture of a tree in their head, I was like, yeah. And she's like, I can't do that. I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, when someone says, like, visualize this, I don't, like, see an image of it in my mind. I was like, really? Like, I'm seeing a tree right now as we're talking about this. It's like a tree. It's on the top of a hill. It's got, like, branches off. There's, like, sunlight coming through. She's like, no, I can't do that. And I was like, weird. Really weird. Now I should have been a neurologist. That's another thing I was talking about with the coworker is how he, like, wished me a happy birthday. And I was like, honestly, I just wish I could live, like, 15 lives. Like, I think that would be enough time to mostly do, like, a lot of the things that I want to do in terms of, like, different life trajectories, different career paths I'd want to take. Because I would definitely spend one of my lives in law enforcement. I would be a doctor or a nurse in another. I would be in the Peace Corps in one. I would try to do something like theatrical or musical in another. I'd probably, like, be a dog walker in one. Or just, like, something that works with animals. Not a vet, but, like, someone who works with animals.
I'm sure you could be a dog walker now.
Yeah, but, like, it's not my life. You know? But it's just so hard because you only get to live one life. And it's like, ugh. How are you supposed to fit everything in?
I don't know, girl.
He told me he'd be happy with 2 lives. And I was like, that's not enough. I feel like 15's enough. Are you texting?
A guy that... I don't know. It's really weird. So he, like, asked me earlier if I wanted to, like, hang out. Okay. Well, hold on a second.
They're gonna have copyright from Inspector Gadget.
Okay, so he texted me earlier, and he was like, hey, I have free time tonight if you want to hang out. Last time... He goes, last time I'm a try. I never ask girls out. I wait for them to, but you're one tough cookie. So I was like, oh, yeah, I'd love to. I'm a tough cookie. Like, I was like, I don't even understand. Like, we barely, like, we were talking and, like...
You're like, I'm actually a soft bake.
No, it was just, like, weird. Because we will talk sometimes. Like, I'm just not super good at texting. So, like, I'll call him sometimes. And, like, it's really weird. And then he's like... I don't know, he was like, if you're that cute and you've been single forever, I definitely will not be the one, but we can meet and maybe see what happens. And I'm
People
like...
are so weird. Oh, these people are so weird. I don't understand it.
He's like, give me a little, but I gotta figure something out. I'm probably not as rich as most guys. I'm sure you date. I'm a carpenter.
Carpenters can have a lot of money. Is he Joseph?
No, his name's Will. And he's like, and my car's acting funny. And he's also been on, like, winter layoff for, like, a couple of weeks. So he's like, my cash flow isn't great, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I'm in Chatham, though. And he's like, oh, yeah, maybe another time. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like...
boring conversation.
Anyway, it was just weird. And then he was like, I want to meet, but read my profile. it explains the situation. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I read his profile before, but I'm like, now I have to go back. We've been texting now for a couple weeks. I have to go back in Tinder and, like, find a freaking profile.
Who knows?
I'm like, what do you
weird.
mean?
Like,
he's like, never mind, TTYL. And I'm like...
Don't talk to that weirdo. Freak.
It's just strange.
All right.
Also, it's, like, confusing because his name on Tinder is, like, his middle name, which, like, is a very common thing people are doing nowadays. And I'm like, okay. And it's just, like, weird that they don't tell you because...
That's not my name.
I don't even think I have him on Tinder anymore. Anyway, it's, like, weird when they don't tell you. So, I was talking to this other guy, and I called him the other day, and he didn't answer, and I heard his voicemail, and I was like, oh, I thought his name was this other thing. So, I asked him last night about it, and he was like, oh, yeah, that's my middle name, because I've had, like, he said he's had to call the cops, like, on 3 girls. He's like, one girl had to call the cops on twice, and
like
2
not
girls
someone
once.
to talk to. And he's like, you're a crazy person.
And I was like, oh. So basically, he said, one girl, they went out, like, a couple of times, and then she showed up at his dad's house, but he wasn't even living at his dad's house at the time.
Okay.
And the dad's like, I was like, well, I guess I can understand if your dad was, like, single at the time. And he's like, that's what my dad said. He was like, how do you know she wasn't here for me? And I'm like, Dad, this is serious. And I guess he was like, said something like, I'm not cool with, like, your casual racism. And she was like, we belong together. Like, I can't see my life without you. And they'd gone on, like, 3 dates.
But I feel like anytime a guy tells you about crazy girls like that, like, there's always more.
Well, that's why I was like, it's very strange. Like, I was definitely very skeptical of the stories. And I was like, it's definitely strange that this has happened to you, like, so many times. Like, that's abnormal.
Like,
and, like,
remember
it's
that book,
indicative.
You Maybe?
Yeah.
Where it's like, the girl's so crazy, but then in reality, it's like the guy's, like, doing all this stuff, and then, like,
remember the
making the
poem I
girl
wrote?
crazy. No. Remember in Dexter when he, like, headbutts the guy and then, like, runs out, and then the guy, like, attacks him, and everyone's like, oh my god, why'd you attack Dexter? And he's like, he headbutted me, and they're like, no, he didn't, you crazy person. It's like that. It's like,
yeah.
You don't see what the guys are doing to instigate, but I feel like anytime a guy has, like, repeated stories of crazy girls, it's like, you're the crazy making here. So.
They also could, or they could just be drawn to that type. I mean, like...
Yes, that's true.
Also,
I mean,
he could just be... I mean, so yes, it is weird that she had looked up the address, found it, went to the house. I mean, that's creepy.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
But then he said another time he was dating a girl for, like, a couple of months and they broke up and he thought it was, like, mutual, but then she showed up at, like, his work and was, like, making a huge scene and stuff and, like, whatever.
Yeah, so he's into crazy girls, so I guess you have a good shot.
And then the other one, and this one I've definitely done, so I don't know, maybe people have called the cops on me. The one where he had to call twice is because she kept calling from, like, different phone numbers.
You've done that?
No. I just call people a lot if they're like, it's over. And I'll be like, it's not over.
Like,
but I don't usually, like, harass. Like, I don't usually go and find them in person. I mean, I've never done that.
Yeah.
I usually just call them too much and then they're like, leave me alone. And I'm like, fine.
Right. Because you sound like a bugaboo.
What?
You're a bugaboo.
Is that what a bugaboo is?
Yeah, like when she's like, it's not hot that you be calling me, paging me, beeping. And then she's like, isn't it in that song where they say, like, you call me from your friend's number when I blocked yours? I think that's in Bugaboo.
Probably.
Or it might be in Bills. I don't know.
Anyway, so, yeah, I asked him about that, and he explained it. But this other guy, I don't really know.
Well, we could probably talk about this off air.
Yeah, anyway. Oh, but side note, regarding that person who asked me about the sunburn picture, I am supposed to go to brunch with him on Sunday, so.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, because he actually doesn't live nearby. He's like, oh, I think I was, like, visiting a friend when we matched. So he actually, like, right now is getting his PhD, and he, like, lives in, like, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But he was, like...
Obviously. Not like Bethlehem.
He wears pink frocks.
Yeah. No shoes.
But he's gonna be, like, somewhere over here on Sunday.
What's his PhD in?
Material science.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so... And then it's weird because, like, these two guys I'm talking to right now, like, the guy with the stalkers, he went to Rutgers for, like, a semester or like, a year. So he, like, so they're all familiar with, like, Rutgers because I'll be like, oh, I gotta take the bus, and they all know about it. And then the other guy, he went to Rutgers because his mom teaches there, so he, like, went for free.
Nice.
So then I was, like, talking to the first guy, and I was like, oh, yeah, like, your mom taught at Rutgers, right? And he's like, no. She was, like, a special ed teacher, and I'm like, oh. And I was like, never mind.
That's awkward.
And they're always like, that's some other guy you're talking to. And I'm like, like, this sounds actually true.
You gotta take notes or something. Keep a file.
I mean, it's a little weird that they, like, both have, like, gone to Rutgers. Like,
not really. I feel like it's a pretty big school. I mean,
okay,
it's
but
kind of weird,
in
I
my
guess.
experience, like, a lot of people, I haven't talked to that many people that go there. So, like, it was a little strange to, like.
Okay. Yeah, a little bit of a connection. Okay, so, yeah.
So, a final thing that we want to kind of touch on or tell you guys is that we are going to be doing a live stream.
Live stream.
So,
streaming live right into your ears.
Cool. It's a cool thing that we can do with the program or whatever that we host our podcast with.
So,
Podbean.
Yes.
But in order to participate, you have to download the Podbean app. So we're telling everyone now. We'll probably do it, like, in March, I would think.
Right. So in a couple weeks, we'll probably do the live stream. We'll let you know the specifics and the topic. But we want you to be prepared. So if you're able to download the Podbean app, then you can follow us on there. You can follow our channel. And then we'll let you know the details as the date gets closer.
Yep, so download the Podbean app. We'll post about it on our socials and stuff. And we'll let you know, like, when we're going to have the live show. Mm-hmm. Another feature of the live show is that we can have call-in guests. So as long as you have the app, you can call in. You can interact with us live on the air.
Yep, you can be kind of
fun. Anyway, yeah. And then also, if you guys have ideas for interesting topics, we can do that.
Yes, we'd love to
let
hear.
Us know.
And so we can stop talking about science education.
If you want to be a guest, let us know.
Let us know. Let us know. Yeah, definitely if you want to be a guest. And if you're not local and you want to be involved, you can just, like, send us a testimonial or, like, we could set something up. So, you know, even if
there's
you're not
other
local,
ways that people do, like, non-local guests, and we could probably set it up that it would work.
Right.
I don't know.
We could just, like, do a Skype and then, like, record you.
Yeah, something like that.
So just, like, let us know and we can get you in there. We should probably touch on our weekly segments. So in the segment formerly known as Weight Watchers, I have not been going to Weight Watchers, and I started tracking this week for about 2 days, and then I stopped because I have no self-control or motivation, and I'm trying to be better, but I'm really struggling, so maybe next week. Jess?
I've been pretty good. I wasn't great, like, I got Applebee's yesterday.
Did you get an irresistible?
No. I got like boneless wings.
Those are a lot of
and the, like, wonton tacos.
Okay.
And then, but the wonton tacos, they got, like, really soggy, so I actually didn't
just how you like it.
Not my wontons. And then I got a salad that I ate, like, later. Mm-hmm. And I got, like, some dessert, but it was not very good, so I didn't eat much of it. It was like the blondie, but they don't have the maple sauce anymore, so it was like
that was their best
an
dessert.
apple compote or something.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, so it was like whatever. But other than that, like, I've been doing really well. I was home. I was planning on coming back here, and that's why I didn't pack, like, food, because basically I packed my dinner and my lunch for, like, Wednesday. So I went home, ate my lunch, then brought my dinner back to school. But I didn't pack lunch or dinner for Thursday because I was planning on coming here, but then I ended up staying at my house.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, I gotta get something, and then I just decided to get Applebee's instead of, like, trying to do something healthy.
Right, but that's still pretty good. I mean, I made some hard-boiled eggs, and then I put them in an egg carton and wrote the word hard on them so that we would know which ones were hard. And then Tim cracked open a raw egg that he thought was a hard-boiled egg.
Was it in the hard box?
No, it was because we had 2 cartons of eggs, so I hard-boiled some.
Did you peel an egg in the sink and, like, leave the whole peel in there?
I did not. I had an egg and remnants in a thing that I washed. Okay, let me let this
I think
dog
she has
out.
to go to the bathroom.
So he cracked open the egg because it was in the door because I had 2 cartons of eggs and the one that I boiled.
Here, you can tell the story. I'll let her out.
Okay. So the egg that I boiled, there was like still raw eggs left in that carton, so I put them in the other carton, but then there were 2 more that would actually fit in the carton, so I put those in the door, and he assumed those were hard, and he cracked it open, but luckily he cracked it into a bowl, so it didn't make a big mess everywhere. But I'm also like, what kind of a freak, like, eats a hard-boiled egg out of a bowl? But that's neither here nor there. I was like, that doesn't really require a bowl, but okay. I'm usually more of a paper towel kind of girl myself.
Well, you married that freak.
That's true, I did. And then, yeah, so our other segment that we talk about weekly is what's popping at the movies. We did not see a movie this week, but there have been a lot of shows coming back to television this week, and also a lot of shows coming to Netflix and Hulu. So I watched the 3rd part of Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. It was pretty good. That show's like kind of goofy and silly, but I like it. It's entertaining, I think. And BoJack Horseman, the best television show on earth, has just released their final episodes. So I have not watched them yet. I'm trying to maybe decide. Maybe I'll want to savor them and not watch them all at once. You know, because it's the last ones we'll ever get.
Is
But
it the
we'll see.
final?
Yeah. It's the end.
No, just watch them all at once, because you can just watch it again.
That's true. You can enjoy shows like that because there's so much to pick up on.
If you also want to take a break or watch something, watch Grace and Frankie. It's funny. And it is like...
I tried to watch it. The first episode was like kind of boring, and I didn't really get into it.
Just
Plus,
watch
I watch a lot of TV.
Watch
so.
a few episodes at once. That is a great show to mention on this podcast because it's about these
Who are older
ladies who are
ladies.
older, and they find out that their husbands are gay, and like
having
they're
an
basically
affair.
like 2 couples who are best friends. They own a beach house together, and they're like, by the way, we're gay. We've been lovers for the past 50 years or whatever. And now that I feel like I don't know why they decided to get divorced finally, but they decided to come out and get divorced. And then the men eventually get married, and then the women, they don't really like each other, but they develop this friendship because of this kind of like
Trauma
camaraderie.
bonding.
But it's interesting because the one is like a painter, the other one, she started her own business, like a beauty care line, and then her daughter takes over the business.
Mm-hmm.
But they basically then, the 2 older women start, like, create their own vibrator, like a vibrator for older women.
Okay.
Basically because the one woman is using a vibrator. The other one's like, you need to relax, girl, use this vibrator. So she does, but then she gets, like, really bad arthritis in her hand. So then they basically decide to make a vibrator that's, like, for older people.
Yeah, interesting.
And so it's, like, interesting because they have a lot of stuff about age. And then there's one episode where they're trying to go to this buffet, but the light, you don't have enough time to cross.
Oh.
So, like,
like
they're
old
trying
ladies
to,
who
like,
need
get the
help
city
getting
to
across the
change, like,
street.
the time that you can cross. Yeah, because they're, like, so slow. So, but I was like, I don't know. I feel like if you're in the middle of the street, you probably can just keep going. But they would be like, no, and they have to, like, turn around. So there's, like, funny stuff, and they talk about issues that happen with, like, older people that a lot of times older people are, like, not okay with, like, talking about or don't want to admit or something.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's probably a lot. Like, we didn't really
what was
talk
the
that
clip I
much about
sent you?
aging.
Oh, the
I didn't
Furbies,
actually
when she was
watch
like,
it.
it's a Furbish, and every friend of a Furby knows it, and you obviously aren't one.
I didn't watch the clip.
Oh,
Well, because it's like you send it to me when I'm like at work, man. I have to turn the sound on. And I was like, I can't listen to this right now.
anyway, yeah, you were in bed at that time, but
Whatever, I was sleeping.
unless you work at night,
So
time job.
I was gonna say we didn't talk too much about aging actually on this episode because there are like a lot of serious topics we could probably cover in aging, like dealing with your state and like accepting the fact that you need help and like when is it time to maybe move in with your kids or move to a nursing home or something like that. But I did have a weird dream last night that we were driving in the car and Nana was driving and Finn's mom was in the front seat and that was like, she was like our mom. I don't know, like it was weird because she kept calling Nana mom. But like,
Well,
it was weird. I was like, I think she was like married to one of our uncles or something and Nana was like her mother-in-law. I was like, I don't know. But then basically what happened was Nana like crashed her car and we were like,
Nana, stop. And she just, like, drove right into a car. And we were like, oh, my God. And then she's like, what? And we're like, you just crashed. And she's like, no, I just hit this tree. And we're like, no, you hit a car. And we were like, she can't drive anymore.
Hitting a tree is a crash.
I know, but she was, like, confused. And then she didn't even remember hitting a car. And I was like, this is bad. So that was a weird dream I had last night.
Not as weird as that dream I had that time that I'm
no
not going to
need to
discuss.
divulge.
So gross. Yes.
Okay, so that's it for this week.
What are we going to talk about next week? We don't know. Hopefully something more interesting. Give us ideas.
Yeah, give us some ideas. If you don't want it to be boring, help us.
All right. We're the Deerfoot Sisters.
And we're prancing away.